reconstruction of West San Antonio Street from Walnut Avenue to Academy Avenue, and authorization for the city manager to execute any change orders up to the contingency amount. Mr. Warmke.
Thank you. David Warmke, District 5. Let me just start by reading consent agenda. All items below are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the City Council. Now I have an item here. I'm going to give you a little background before I get on it. 2-3 years ago, I was at a meeting and I was asking questions about the sports park, and I also asked questions about the streets. And there was one great leader there that actually gave me straight answers. And he said, you know, this San Antonio.
Did you have a question about this item?
I want to frame it, and then there's a question, but you need to just let me frame it.
If you just want to speak, we're going to open public hearing shortly. But if you've got a question, we'll be happy to try to
I do have a question,
staff
but the
address
question needs to be framed. Please allow me to frame
Okay.
it. So we had problems on San Antonio Street, so I asked him about it. He said, that's on us, and he said, that's on me. But we're going to figure it out. And I trust him. I won't tell you his name. Y'all probably know his name. So I came here to find out, what did we figure out? What did we learn? On the failure of this road that was paved 3-4 years ago, failure went bad really quickly from sinking of trenches and various other things. What did we learn?
Yeah, so the conclusion was there was lots of issues in that original construction, but yeah, fingers kind of pointed in a number of different directions on what caused those failures.
And we get to pay $2.2 million again to repave the road.
Yes, sir.
Would you have a job if you were working in private industry, if you did manage projects like that, any of you?
Mr. Warmke, do you have a question about this item? If you want to speak to the item, if you're speaking to the item, we'll open public hearing shortly. But do you have a question?
I just add a question. Would any of y'all have a job if you had a project that failed $2.2 million and then didn't have an answer as to why it failed? And you've gotten warning on this. You knew this was coming. So I'm not surprising you on this, or you should have.
Well, we do know that what the solution is that we need to go in there, remove all the base material that was placed, put new asphalt in, which is what we're planning to do.
Okay. So essentially, we have to do discovery while we're excavating to figure out what happened? Is that what we're saying?
No, that phase is already complete. We already know that we need to pull out the material.
Okay. So how could this have been prevented?
How could what have been prevented? The failures?
The failure and doing something wrong.
Well, as I said, that there was lots of different faults identified in those findings, and so yeah, there's lots of lessons learned about how we take geotech reports and that sort of thing, and so yeah, I think we learned lots of lessons on moving forward.
Those won't be repeated. We've had a number of issues here with pavements and roads. This is not one of them.
Mr. Warmke, do you have a question about this item?
Well, I do have a question. I just want to make sure.
Well, if you've got something staff can answer, if not, you're just speaking to the item. We haven't opened public hearing yet. We'll open a public hearing, but if you have a specific question, staff can address.
I've asked, and there is no specific answer. There's just a bunch of things. And I'm saying that doesn't cut the mustard. I'm sorry. Leadership, that doesn't cut the mustard.
Mr. Warmke, do you have a question about this item?
City Council should not allow that.
Mr. Warmke, I'm warning you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, we will now open this to public hearing. If anybody would like to speak to this item, please step up to the podium, state your name, whether you're resident, non-resident, or live in the ETJ.